Hey everyone, exciting show for you today. I have a topic, a guest that accomplished something I would never even dream of doing on multiple fronts. This individual has completed 7-day flips, which we will talk about, and he is also partnering on creating a TV show. So let's welcome Tyler Jensen to the show. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing so good. Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's been fun. I saw you present down in San Diego at Flip Hacking Live. I want to call that 9 months ago. It feels like a
Yeah,
decade ago, just given
October.
given
Yeah, no
everything we've
kidding.
done since. But that was an inspirational story. I'd never seen anybody tackle a 7-day flip before. That was the first time you had tackled that, and have since done it again. But my audience doesn't know you, so let's introduce the audience to who is Tyler. Where are you at in the country? What do you do? Kind of get into your real estate story first before we tackle this insane idea of a 7-day flip.
I love it. Yeah, so I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah. We're just north of Salt Lake. So grew up in Utah. I grew up on a dairy farm. So I used to get up and milk cows in the morning and stuff like that. So we don't do that anymore. But thank goodness, it was a lot of work. But
I bet.
yeah, I started there, and then yeah, I went through high school and I served a mission for my church for a couple of years. And then when I got back from that, then I kind of started my career. I started going to school and college, and that's when I really started flipping houses back in 2008 was when we did our first deal. So yeah, since 2008, we started doing short sales and foreclosures. We would flip contracts. So that was before wholesaling was a coined term, and it was called wholesaling. We would do kind of an A to B, B to C closing. We would double close it. And yeah, that's how I got started in real estate. And we did a couple of flips. My dad and we did some flipping, and then I was still going to school. So I would do maybe 1 or 2 a year while I was going to college. I took the corporate route. I still would flip houses part-time as a side hustle, but I was a COO for a while. I was a director of operations. My background was in manufacturing and accounting. And so I kind of did all the financials and corporate stuff, but I hated that I had to work 80-hour weeks and I never got to see my family, and I only had 3 weeks of vacation and all that stuff. So I wanted to change. I wanted to be able to have freedom, to be able to hang out with my kids and my wife, and also to have that financial freedom as well, that I could kind of come and go as I needed to, and just start creating that generational wealth, if you will. So that's kind of how I got started into real estate. I've always loved flipping houses. It's just gratifying to me to be able to take these old dumpy crack houses and make them into something pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I kind of just we solely just do rehabs. We don't do any wholesaling or anything like that. We have a few buy and holds, but yeah, so we're just really good at flipping houses.
Yeah. So Tyler, let me just peel this story back so people can really get a taste. So 2008, I don't know
Yeah.
Utah market at all. I'm going to guess that's at least near the bottom.
Yeah,
The last
exactly.
crisis. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay. So you're getting short sales, maybe some REOs. Did you ever go to an auction, or, I mean, where were you getting the distressed inventory?
Yep. All the time. So we would go to the county court steps, and we would do auctions. We'd go to the county actually, and it cost us like 25 cents a page to pull records.
Oh, wow.
So we would pull notice of defaults every day, and we would just mark it to them. We used to do just stupid things, like we would send people a lifesaver and in an envelope, and we'd say, hey, we want to be your lifesaver and help you out of foreclosure, and
Nice.
just dumb stuff like that. It worked. We got deals. So
Yeah.
yeah, we just didn't know what we were doing. So yeah, it was
You know,
interesting time, but yeah, it was definitely the bottom.
Yeah. So you were failing forward, right? Activity, action is really key in this business. So, all right. So 2008, you're doing that again. So 2008, you're in school still, if I remember the story right. So college, doing this with your dad. You're doing a couple a year, you get a job, probably still doing a couple a year. When do you break out? Maybe you do your first 8 or 10 deals a year. What year was that?
Yeah, so I started getting pretty ramped up. So I still had a W-2 job, but I was kind of partnering with a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when the momentum really started rolling, that we were doing probably 6 or so a year.
Okay.
When I was just getting that started. And then I joined a mastermind group. I joined the 7-figure flipping group. I think you know Bill Allen pretty well.
I do. Yeah.
But I joined his group, and then my business just really started taking off. A year later, I quit my job, and I was making more money in real estate anyways. Then I felt like I was losing money by going to work. Every time I'd go into work, I'm like, man, what am I doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah, I'm losing money. I could go out be doing real estate and make more money than what I'm doing sitting behind a desk.
Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Yeah,
So what year was that roughly? Because that's a pivot point.
So that was 2017.
Okay.
That I joined the mastermind group, and I quit my job in 2018.
So, all right, so roughly a decade, and that people need to hear that. It was roughly a decade from when you began flipping homes.
Yeah.
You know, life still happens, right? Still going to school, getting a job, blah, 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 still doing a few a year. And then you get to a point, a decade after you put your toe in the water, and you're like, okay, I got proof of concept. I've got some scale. It's not luck anymore, right?
Yeah.
How was that conversation with your wife? Right? Because it's got to be a benefit for both of you, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, totally. So we had just closed on 2 deals at the same time. So we had enough runway for about 6 months. I said, hey, look, we could live for 6 months and be fine. We have this money in the bank. And I'm like, I want to quit my job. And she's like, no, no way. You're not going to quit your job. Like, that's stupid. You went to college, you know, you're highly educated, and you're going to quit your job to go pursue some pipe dream that you hope will happen.
Wow.
So anyways, I talked to her about it and thought about it and prayed about it and all those things. And then, yeah, I just said, hey, look, here's the difference. I'll pay us every 2 weeks, the same amount that I'm getting paid at my W-2 job. I'll make sure that we have health insurance. And the only difference, instead of going to the office, I'm going to go to the basement. And my office will be in the basement. So I'm just going to close the door and do my thing. You'll never know a difference. So it'll still feel the same way to you. And that was 2.5 years ago. And so we just haven't ever looked back since. And she gave me 6 months. She said, okay, if we're not making money in 6 months, you got to go get a job.
Wow.
And so I said, deal, that's a deal. Give me 6 months. And if I can't make this thing work, then I'll go back and get a job. But
and again,
still jobless. So
yeah, good for you. Well, people need to hear this stuff because, again, right? I mean, I'm just playing this movie in my head as you're describing it, right? You had it 10 years of at least a couple of transactions, which I'm sure your wife saw, right? She's like, oh, you made 12 grand or 13 grand or 23 grand or whatever it was. So she had at least some proof of concept, but to her, I guess it was always a side hustle, right? It's that extra money, right? I'm guessing that's how she saw it. It's like, that's not full-time money, honey, right? What are you doing? Don't put our family at risk. In 2000, what was it, 18? How many kids did you have?
I just had one.
Okay.
Is that right? No, I had two. I had 2 kids. Okay, so when I quit my job, we were pregnant with our second. So. Okay.
So I'm just trying to play the movie up because people need to see this. Social media makes it look like everybody just quits their job and it's all sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns. And it's not that way. Right. So you had the discussion with the wife.
Yeah, so I had 2 kids.
Yeah.
And man, I was right. I was getting paid really well. So I had a good paying job as a W-2 employee. I was a finance director. So, you know, I had insurance, I had retirement, I had all those things, right? That when you go and you take that leap, you don't get anymore. And I remember my wife's biggest concern. She's like, what are we going to do about health insurance?
Yeah.
She didn't care about a 401k or anything like that. She just wanted to make sure the kids could be okay.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, look, I know that health insurance is a big deal. I'll make it work. I'll make sure that we have health insurance, whatever that takes.
Yeah.
And so that was her biggest concern, really, was just health insurance. And then, like what you're saying, that steady paycheck, right? Because it was just a side hustle and it was very sporadic.
Right.
We'd close on a house and then 8 months later we'd close on another one.
Right.
And so she kind of saw that as, man, I'm not going to get paid for 8 months. Like, I don't know if I can save. I don't know if we can budget that well.
Yeah. The piles of money show up sporadically and intermittently. So definitely understand that conversation, but you have to have it. You're in this, most people come into this with a significant other, and usually one or the other is not as eager, and you just need to have that out. I mean, you just need to have those discussions. The other thing you mentioned in your story, I just want to make people understand, is you talked about flipping contracts. Can you just paint what that was like in the beginning before it became wholesaling, just so they don't get stuck on that vocabulary?
Yeah, for sure. So back when we started, we signed up for some stupid course, and I would never recommend it again. But we signed up for a course and we took it and we just kind of took action. And so what we would do is we would negotiate we'd find a deal, we'd send them a lifesaver, right? We'd get a deal locked up, we'd get it under contract, and then we would negotiate with the bank on a short sale. And so we'd take all the paperwork, we'd talk with the bank, we'd say, hey, we want to negotiate a short sale. And in the meantime, we would find a retail buyer that we could sell this house to. So the bank would take a discount, they'd sell it to us, we would fund it with money. We'd borrow hard money or whatever it was. And then 24 hours later, usually we would flip the contract and we would just sell it to a retail buyer and we would just take the difference.
So let's paint that picture just more, and I'll just use examples. Let's say the seller, right? Because you still have to deal with the seller first in a short sale. Let's just say, I don't know, let's say they owe 250 and you get the seller to agree to 200, just to use easy math. They sign the contract, right? Because again, it doesn't mean anything to them, so that's easy. Then you have to take that contract to the bank and see if they would accept. Would you go at 200, like the signed price, or would you try to get 180?
Oh yeah, we would get as deep as we could with the bank, and so we would just usually, and man, this is going back 12 years that we were doing this, but yeah, so we would just get it under contract, where we would get an agreement with the seller saying, hey, this is. And it would usually be, we would try and get it under contract for like 150.
Okay, so 150.
Case. And then we would go to the bank and then they'd say, hey, look, we'll give you 200 or whatever, right? So
got it.
Whatever the bank would say, we would always we would lowball the bank, and then the bank would always come back and say, okay, well, reality, we can take it for 160 or 200 or whatever that was. They owe 250, we'll give it to you for 170.
Yeah, so basically that makes a lot more sense. So basically the seller, the individual, the homeowner, they would agree to whatever crazy ass number, 150. Then you go to the bank and you try to get something between 150 and 250. They agree, whatever that is, 200, just for this easy math. Then you would go find a retail buyer and try to flip it for 215. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Whatever we could get out of it. And sometimes those spreads were pretty big because the bank, they didn't want a non-performing asset on their books. So they would just get rid of it. They're not in the housing business. They didn't want to flip houses. They just wanted to get it off their books. So they were motivated. The sellers were motivated because a foreclosure stays on your record for 8 years. And so they were motivated. They said, hey, look, we'd rather, we would give them cash sometimes. Hey, we'll give you $5,000. We'll give you whatever you need just to help you move out. We'll get this deal done. And so they would win, they would get some cash, and they didn't get a foreclosure on their record. So they were just super grateful to us. And then the bank was happy because we took over a non-performing asset off their books. And then the retail buyer was still getting a deal because we had negotiated. So they were still getting cheaper than market value.
For sure.
Sometimes those spreads were pretty big. So that's how we started. We started doing a lot of those things. And then we did our first flip. And here's a key point as well. Our first flip, we lost 37 grand. So that was a party, and I didn't have 37 grand to lose, right? So it was all leveraged. So then we lost that. I worked it out with the lender. I said, hey, look, we lost our shirt on this deal. I'll pay you interest until I can pay it back. Our second one, we did like 39,000. So we were break even on 2 deals. And then our third one, we made like 18 or something like that. So I was like, man, that was a painful education to have to go through. But I had to keep going because I didn't have, it would have taken me a year to pay off 37,000. I was in college, I was working full time, that was my annual income. So I just kept going, and we said, hey, we did everything wrong possible on that first deal. We bought it wrong. We pushed the ARV too high. We over rehabbed it. We did every textbook thing that you shouldn't do. And then we just said, hey, look, we got to keep going. I got to pay this off, right? Real estate's the only way that I can do that. And so we just kept going, and we made it work. And then by the third deal, I was like, man, we've had a good deal and a bad deal, and I think we can make something out of this. So
awesome.
But it was just all about persistence and making it all happen.
Very, very cool. So I'd love to talk about that first year that you were doing this full time. Do you remember kind of where you were at transaction wise, just so people can see you really were losing money in a W-2 job, right? Because you were losing time, which time equates to money.
Yeah, totally. So we were doing about 6 a year, one every month, every other month.
Yep.
And then we ramped it up. When I quit my job, we did like 12.
Oh, wow.
So we were doing about one every single month, which the cash flow was coming in. We were getting, checks coming in at least on a somewhat consistent basis. So that was awesome. And then I joined this mastermind group, and then we took it up to, we did 30 deals last year. And this year we're on track to do 40. Wow. And so that first year though, man, I remember quitting my job, and the next day getting up at like 4 a.m. Cause I'm like, now it's on me.
Yeah.
Now I got to go to work. Right. So no more, just taking it easy behind a desk job and showing up at 9 and leaving at 5. And it was getting up at 4 a.m. and just hitting it hard. Right. And that's how it was for like the first 6 months after I quit my job, is that I was like, okay, now this is 100% on me. So I need to make sure that I can control my fate, not somebody else.
That's awesome. And have you always stayed in the same market? Are you within 45-minute drive of your house, or what is your market?
Yeah, we are. We're 45 minutes of my house, either direction. So okay. We stay in Utah. There's lots of different pockets that is in our market that are for first-time home buyers. And so we really stick to that niche. That our buyer pool's really big. So 95% of our deals go under contract within a week or two. And then we usually get multiple offers on all of these, just because we're in that target. We're not doing high-end homes. We've tried that before, and they just give me anxiety. And they just take too long to sell and all of those things. So we stick to a first-time home buyer. We do I'd rather do a high volume of those and just,
Makes total sense. What is the median price? What's the median price in Salt Lake? I have no idea.
$330 is the median price.
$330. And you stay below that, I'm guessing.
So we're well below that. We're in the like 250s to maybe 300s, our ARVs. Makes
total sense. Very, very cool. So now let's flip over to, why the heck would you take on the challenge of doing a 7-day flip? I mean, what makes you take on such a crazy goal like that? I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah. So I was sick of projects taking 6 months and 8 months. And if anyone's ever flipped a house, you can totally relate to that, because it just takes forever. It's like you're babysitting contractors, and you got to get them there, and it costs all this money in holding costs, and your investor makes more money than you do. And I was just sick of all that. And so I said, hey, I want to be able to control, and we had talked about it at one of these mastermind groups. Someone said, hey, look, we could do a flip in 7 days, and what would it look like if you could? And then that idea just really sparked with me, and I was like, hey, I could do a flip in 7 days. It's just really, if you break it down, it's all about mechanics. So the mechanics on a 7-day flip are, I needed people, I needed labor, guys to do stuff, and I needed the stuff that they could do. So all the materials. So those are my two biggest things that I said, if I can control both of those, if I can get enough bodies and I can get all the materials, then I think I could be successful. So we just kind of looked at that. And then I told my wife I wanted to do it. And guess what she said? She's like, you're crazy. There's no way. You can't do a flip in 7 days. And then I talked to my project manager. I was like, hey, I really want to do a flip in 7 days. How can we do it? And he's like, bro, you can't. Like, sorry, it's a
cool idea, bro.
You can't do it. Yeah, like you can't. Sorry, like that sounds cool, but it's just not. So anyway, so they both told me no, and we had contractors that told me no, but I was like, you know what, we're gonna figure this out. So my project manager and I actually planned it out. I'm like, hey, look, just hypothetical, what would it take to do a flip in 7 days? What would it really have to look like? And then he started catching the vision, and he's like, well, if we did this, we could probably do that on day 1. And if we did this, we could probably do that on day 2. And if we had this many people, then we could do it in 7 days. And then the wheel started turning, and he's like, I really think we could do this. And I said, I know, right? We could totally do this. So we planned it out for months. Like, we just were talking about it casually. We said, what would it take? What would it look like? What would we do? How do we prepare for contingencies and, stuff like that. So we thought it through, and then we found the perfect house. And so we said, hey, look, this is it. We're going to do it. And we pulled the trigger. So yeah, it was just really a mindset. It was just, I believed it. I just had to get other people around me to believe it, that we could do a 7-day flip.
Yeah. So let's talk about the first house. Cause again, I saw this story at Flip Hacking Live, which was awesome, but let's paint the vision of the audience. How did it start? And then, tell the story.
Yeah, so we found this house. It was perfect. So we got it under contract, and we had a week of escrow that we could plan and we could, before we closed on it.
Okay.
So we just went, we got it under contract, and the same day I said, hey bro, this is the perfect house. It's a $40,000 rehab. It needed some utilities. We had to change the outside. It had these ugly arches in the front, so we had to change all of that. It needed a new bathroom, new kitchen. It only had one bath at the time, so we added a full bathroom to it. But yeah, so it was just like a perfect house. I'm like, it was pretty small. It was only 1,800 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, and it had a spot for a second bath.
Okay.
So anyways, I was like, hey, this is it. We're going to do it. So we planned it. We spent a week talking about it. We Gantt charted and scope of work and everything like that. And then we started on Monday. We closed on the property like on a Friday, and we started on Monday.
Okay.
And then, yeah, then we just went to work, man. It was all about motivating our guys and creating this belief that they could do it, because it's hard when you're telling a contractor you're going to flip a house in 7 days. They gave me the same pushback. They're like,
yeah,
hey, bro,
yeah, that's cute. What are you just going to paint it? I mean, what are you
doing?
So how many people did you have? I mean, because you had to have subs on top of subs. Again, I can see the Gantt chart kind of in my head. I mean, did you have 12 people in the house at one time?
Yeah, I think we had like on every 7-day flip, it's right around 20 guys
20,
that we have in and out, right? But not all at the same
Yeah.
time, because everyone has their role. And we were very strategic about that. We knew who was going to be in what room at what time, and some guys were going to come work at night, which was perfect, and some guys wanted to work during the day. And so we would just coordinate, okay, the plumber's going to be doing this, and the painters need to start here, and we just we were really focused, and we just really focused on those logistics of, we didn't want 20 guys all in the same room trying to do the same thing.
Oh,
so
yeah,
we just broke it down, and then, created that belief. And then it was awesome. Everyone was so pumped, like, because the synergy and the morale was super high, because we were all moving towards the same direction. We just had this real cool synergy, and this culture was awesome. And everyone was just all in. They're like, yeah, we're going to do this.
Yeah,
we're going to finish it.
Yeah, I can only imagine once you got to like day 2 or day 3, just the positive momentum of those 20 individuals wanting to see that. It became an internal belief that are like, screw it, I'm going to get there. Right? I'm going to stay an extra hour. I'm going to do an extra this. I'm going to do an extra that. That had to be fun just to witness. Because as I understand it, you're not picking up a hammer or a paintbrush, right? You're sitting on the lawn pointing at stuff.
Yeah. And I didn't even do a lot of that. We banned all Home Depot runs. So I told no one, I said, no one can go to Home Depot but me. And so I would just do Home Depot runs, and I would bring lunch, and I was the water boy, man. Like, I didn't do anything. So
that's awesome.
My project manager kind of directed traffic and did all of that stuff. So I was just there for moral support.
All right. So now let's switch to this TV show. So I heard from Bill Allen. Yeah. I don't know. I think I saw a post or whatnot for him a couple of months ago talking about his idea for a TV show and doing, kind of pushing the idea of the 7-day flip, and that morphed into doing 4 units, 7-day flip. And I'm like, come on. I mean, come on, really? So why don't you talk about, I mean, does he call you? I mean, I'm guessing that's what happened. He calls you and goes, hey, let's do something together. I mean, how does that even come about?
No, it's a crazy story. So we found these 2 duplexes that were right next door to each other. So the logistics would be easy. So we looked at this house, and my project manager actually came to me and he's like, bro, what if we flipped all 4 of these in 7 days? And I'm like, you're coming to me, the guy that 6 months ago told me it wasn't possible, and now you're telling me that we can do 4 in 7 days? And so we said, hey, this would be awesome. Like, I'm in. So we had some time that we could plan it out before we had to close on it. So we planned it out, and then I called Bill and I said, hey, bro, look, we've got this crazy idea. I want to put it out to our group and see if some of the members want to come out and watch us do it. I wanted to talk to you and make sure that was okay. And he's like, wait, you're doing 4 rehabs now in 7 days? And I'm like, yeah, like, why not? let's push the envelope. Let's beat that 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, we got to film this. We got to do something with it. So we talked with some local camera guys and some other things. And he's like, you know what, I'm just going to send my camera crew there. And this is right as coronavirus is happening. Right. And so it was mid-March. And so by then coronavirus was still kind of this thing and people didn't really know what was happening. And so he's like, I'm going to send my camera crew out, but is it cool if they just come crash at your house? And I'm like, sure.
Why not? I got a basement.
Yeah, why not? Let's go. So they came and they crashed at my house and we just filmed it. So they flew in on like Sunday morning and we shot some footage and they just followed me around the whole time for 7 days. And I'm not going to tell you the outcome because you'll have to watch the TV series, but it was pretty fun to be able to do that and to really just push the envelope and to test our bounds, right? That we did a 7-day flip and that was awesome. And then we've done 3 others before that. And now we're doing 4 of them all in 7 days. And yeah, it just turned out to be a really cool experience. And even if we did it or didn't, it didn't matter because it was cool just to be able to test that limit and say, hey, look, I'm confident in my guys and my team and let's try it. What do we have to, what if it takes us 12 days to do it, right? It's still way better than it would have taken us probably 30 days per rehab to do that on a normal scale. So it was all just about efficiency.
I love it. I love it. So let's make sure we understand the audience. Cause again, we're going to tell them where to see the TV series, but you say it was 2 duplexes. So I don't know Utah at all, right? So is that 4 individual houses on one lot? Is it 2 structures with, connected side by side? Sort of lay out the configuration.
So it's two separate structures, 2 larger houses that are almost cut down the middle. Okay. And so there's 4 different units, but they all have their own kitchens. They're all 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. Yep. They all had to have one of the whole. So units 1 and 2 had meth in it, and so we had to decom for meth. Like, oh my God. There was just a lot of stuff that we had to do in a short amount of time. And so we said, hey, you know what, we're willing to tackle this and make it happen. So, but yeah, that's the structure of there's 2 different buildings, but they're really like 1,000 square foot house, each of them.
Got it. So, there you go. 1,000 square foot each. So roughly 500 square feet each unit, roughly.
No, 1,000 per.
Oh, so 2,000 square foot structures.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Wow. Single story?
Yep. All single story, no stairs.
Garage, external garages?
Yeah. It has a 6-car garage back there.
Wow.
So it has like a mechanic shop and stuff like that. We didn't really touch the garages. They were just full of stuff. Like this guy had been collecting for years. And so we didn't do a lot to the garages during the 7-day flip. Yeah. But we just did everything in the houses. So, all right. Yeah.
And then there's a special twist to this project for you because this is not going to be a flip in the general sense, meaning there's owner occupants or landlords buying it from you. You're really flipping the financing, if I understand it correctly. You're going to burr out and look to exit with 0 money left in the deal, if I understand it correctly.
Yep. So we've actually we're in the process of getting tenants in there and all of that stuff. So, but yeah, the plan was just to refinance it out and then I'll have 0 money into it and we'll cash flow it for the next 30 years. And then I can do a cost segregation on it. Yeah. And it will, reduce my taxable income, which is awesome. That's always good not to pay taxes. So that was kind of the strategy that we took. That, hey, we don't have to, we could lower our tax bracket, our tax liability. We can have this cash flow. We rented out the garages. Oh. So that's just cherry on top that it had a mechanics bay and all that in there. So we'll have all the units leased and then we'll be able to lease the garages as well. So it'll cash flow really well. Very cool. And I'll have 0 money into the deal. So
very cool. So I'm guessing you bought this from the same owner, right? You didn't have to deal with 2 different sellers, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we actually wanted the house that was next door. That's the house that we were targeting. Yeah. And we talked with him and said, hey, look, we want to buy your house. And he's like, your price is way too low on this house, but I have these 2 duplexes next door. Do you want those? And we're like, sure.
Why not?
So
Very
yeah.
cool. Very
And
cool.
we'll talk about that too. Like episode 2 of this is all about how we found the deal and how we negotiated it and
Awesome.
all of that stuff. So you'll be able to see kind of how we found it and all that in episode 2.
Very cool. Well, Tyler, how can people find this? And I think episode 1 is out already, if I remember Bill's note. Where can people
It
go
is.
watch
Yeah,
this series?
Yeah, so it streams on YouTube live every single week. So every Monday we do a watch party, and it's on the Seven Figure Flipping YouTube channel that we broadcast it. But we have a watch party. We did it on Memorial Day, was the first episode that was released, and then every Monday going forward for 11 episodes.
Wow.
You'll be able to see everything. So this is like HGTV, but without all the before and afters and all the glam and all that other stuff. This is real. Like, we're dealing with methamphetamine, and we're dealing with, contractors that are just making stupid decisions and all of that stuff that you don't really get to see on an HGTV show. This is like for investors. If you want to learn how to flip houses and you want to see a high efficient crew that actually is doing it, that's what these episodes are all about. But yeah, so, and then anyways, every Monday an episode airs, and then every Thursday, Bill and I do a YouTube live as well, and we talk about the episode. And we open it up to listeners and to viewers that if they want to ask questions, like I talked about, I had a house burned down when I first got started. And Bill asked me about that. He's like, bro, you said you had a house burned down. What happened? Like, give me more backstory on that. So we talked about that, and we talked about my backstory a little more. And then we got questions from people about the episode. They're like, bro, how did you get all these contractors to agree to do a 7-day flip? What's the process look like that? So it's really cool, and it's really valuable that you get to see us in the episodes doing our thing and making it happen. And then you get to come on Thursdays and ask us questions about the episode or about investing or about, hey, I want to try a 7-day flip. What do I need to do? So all on Seven Figure Flipping on their YouTube channel. And I'll send you the link as well. So I'm sure you'll have it in the show notes, or
I will put it, it will be line 1 of the description or show notes, whatever they call it.
Perfect.
Seven Figure Flipping YouTube channel, which I am a subscriber of. So I love what Bill Allen and team are doing out there. So any kind of closing thoughts, either on your backstory, your future, how can they follow you, Tyler? Is there a way they can follow you?
Yeah. So Utah House Flip is my company. You're welcome to follow us on Facebook. We post, we've done several 7-day flips in there that you can see. You can kind of follow us through that journey. So Utah House Flip on Facebook, Tyler Jensen on Facebook. Our website is utahhouseflip.com. So you can check us out there. There's a lot of stuff there. And then, just watch these episodes, because we work so hard to produce them and to get them out and to make them like really special, that it's something, if you really want to get into investing houses, we break it all down. Like, how do you get there mentally, and how do you do it efficiently, and how do you just work with people? So check out the TV series. I can't express that enough, because it's a labor of love for us. It's just been a lot of fun making this, and Bill spent a lot of time on it. And if anyone knows Bill Allen, they know that he doesn't do anything not 100%, 110%. So
exactly.
Really good stuff, and just amazing. So, but yeah, if you're just starting, my final words of advice is that you can do it. It doesn't take talent. It doesn't take skill. It doesn't take anything like that. It takes character. It takes heart to be able to get into real estate and to keep going. I could have quit when I lost $37,000 on my first rehab. That was a painful experience, and I don't wish that on anybody. So learn from those things, but just understand and realize that you can totally do it. That you got to have that belief in you, and you got to have that why and that passion that you can. If you want to make $1 million in real estate, the only one that can tell you no is you. There's a lot of haters that told us that we couldn't do a 7-day flip. There's a lot of people that told me I was stupid for leaving my corporate job. There was all these haters that you just can't listen to. You have to keep moving forward, and you have to do what you want to do. But that why, start with your why you want to get there. For me, it was freedom of time and freedom with financials, that I could be able to hang out with my kids, and I didn't have to work 80 hours a week and only get 3 weeks of vacation. I wanted to be able to raise my kids, and I have 3 boys, and man, they are so much fun. Every Friday, we call it Fun Friday, and I take off work. I don't answer my phone. I hang out with my kids. We do something fun. We'll go to the park. We go rollerblading. We do whatever it is, right? But I couldn't do that in a corporate job. So I wanted to make sure that I could raise my kids. So if you're out there and you want to get into real estate, you can totally do it. You just have to be willing to put in the time and the energy and just never give up.
Never give up. I love that. That will be our closing thoughts. Never give up. Tyler Jensen, thank you very much for your time, man. Congratulations on your success. And I look forward to episode 2 on Monday.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. Like, really appreciate the opportunity. This has been awesome.
You got it, brother.